I, 30F, have always been inseparable. Our bond is the cornerstone of our family. We have the most stable and loyal relationship ever, not in a creepy way, and whenever we argue, which is rare or minor, the whole family gets involved and tries to make peace because it feels so wrong for everyone. He walked me down the aisle at my wedding. I named one of my kids after him. We have matching tattoos. We chat on the phone almost daily. He began to plan his wedding. He wanted me to be a groomsman, while his friend, 35-ish, F, would be his best man. Everyone was puzzled by this because of his role at my wedding, and none of us really knew / had met his friend. I told him how it upset me, and he said, "My wedding isn't about you, okay? Fine, I'll do what you want." During the planning, he phoned me every day. We exchanged ideas. I helped with crafting stuff. I didn't mind. I chose to ignore the titles and just to make this day as wonderful as possible for my brother. He asked me to be flower fairy because this was a gay, child-free wedding. I agreed. During the process of dress/shoe choosing, him and the best man would reject all of my suggestions. She would send very plain heels that were around $100. No way. I informed her that my budget was $45 for shoes, especially for simple gold heels. The wedding party all had a very snobby attitude. I sensed it from the start. There was the wedding party, and then me. I attributed this to not being close with them and distance. All of them live in a different state than me. They even went as far as calling the shoes I liked too slutty. They were the kind of small heels that lace up around your calf or around your ankle. After this, I pleaded to come as a guest, so I could wear what I want and not experience this weird mean girl vibe from the rest of the wedding group. My brother says, "No way, I need you by my side when I get married." I arrive at the state where the wedding will be, and the first day I'm there I discover that best man had the bachelor party the night before I got there. Everyone from the wedding party was invited except for me. I let it go and concentrate on the wedding and doing my role. So, I put on some wings and dance my way down the aisle and give my very first wedding speech. All goes well. The wedding was awesome until the drag show. Yes, they had a drag show at their wedding. During the show, one of the queens comes on and basically reveals that this was all fake because my brother and his partner had gotten married 1 year before. I turned to the rest of the wedding party and asked if they knew. They did. They were at the real wedding. Everyone but me. I'm sitting there trying to comprehend, and my mom, who gave them $3,000 for the wedding because they needed it, rushes up to ask if I knew. I told her no, and she immediately changed to being supportive to me because of how awful the situation was. It's not about them already being married. They can do what they want. I myself spent over $4,000 on this wedding. Because I was coming from out of state, I had to get a flight ticket. I paid for a week at an Airbnb. One night, most of the wedding party stayed at the house I rented because they had nowhere else to go and did not even offer to pay for any of it. The dress for the wedding, the fairy wings I made by hand, all of it. I wasted too much time and money on this wedding. But then I start to recall all of the lies. They got married, and 3 days after, my brother was at my house while I delivered my last child because I always need him in my big moments. He held my newborn, knowing he had just gotten married, and said nothing. They made me feel like I was crazy for feeling left out. Him saying he can't get married without me. Lying to my face every single day for a year. Just all of it. After realizing all of this, I tried to leave without causing a scene. His husband sarcastically asked me if I was angry. I said I'd talk to them another day and they should enjoy their night. I managed to leave without anyone else at the wedding noticing I was upset. Before I could leave, the happy couple drags me into a room. My brother is sobbing, saying he didn't do this to hurt me. I keep it together, say enjoy your night, and we will talk another day. His husband says, "Oh, so there's something to talk about then." I repeat, "We can talk another day." They invite me to brunch. I say I'll see if I'm up/ready for it when they go. The next morning, I realize the whole wedding party and some guests are going to lunch. I decide not to go because I am not going to expose myself to a situation where I am attacked again over my feelings about the wedding and wedding party. After that, I left the wedding chat on Snap, which they were notified of. At this point, it's the next morning and his husband starts bombarding me and my friend, who was with me, with messages. We ignore and go on with our day. Have not talked to or seen my brother since, except for brief replies to get me to the airport the day I left. When I left, I asked them to edit me out of the wedding photos as I didn't want to be linked to a fake wedding and I didn't want a reminder of how humiliating it was and how foolish I looked. I told them I didn't want to talk to them again. My brother says nothing and his husband says, "You're a narcissist and I pity the people who have to deal with you." Pretty sure narcissistic more fits with fooling 100 people into coming to a wedding. Some of the wedding that was paid for by other people. Just to tell everyone, haha, this was just a huge party for us. Joke's on you is probably more narcissistic than me reacting to the time, money, energy spent to attend a fake wedding. But okay, LOL. I just don't know what to do from here. I have them both blocked. There's a divide in our family. My brother has not tried to mend it. He had the opportunity to show me what I meant to him. He did, and now I have to accept it. I'm going to try to update in sections 1. I suppose to answer if he is in an abusive relationship. That really is up to each person to judge. I will not and won't label him as abusive because I'm not in that relationship with them. My bringing up the drag queens was because they are relevant to the story. Hello, it was one of the queens that spilled the beans? I'm not sure why some of you are interpreting that as me being anything phobic. Stating that somebody is gay or that drag queens were at a wedding is part of a story and it's factual. It's not anything phobic. Our family, as well as new husband's family, have always been nothing but supportive and accepting. My mom has 2 kids who are very upset. She could never despise my brother, but she definitely does not approve of the choices that he has been making. She's doing her best to support her 2 children. Gay wedding, no kids allowed. 2 separate statements, LOL. They definitely did not ban gay children from their wedding. LOL. I mentioned both of these things to justify why I was a flower fairy. No kids. Flower girl. Fairy. To match the gay/dragon theme. Hello people. I happily put those wings on and danced my way down the aisle. That is definitely not anything phobic, LOL. For those of you who are claiming anything along those lines, you are definitely stretching and projecting. Using narcissistic when it actually does not suit the person, in my opinion, is trying to weaponize. Top questions. For some reason, I cannot update my post to add this, so hopefully most of you will see it. Me and new husband, as far as I know, did not have any bad blood going into the wedding. There was a time when they were dating that I voiced I didn't like the fact that my brother was working 2 jobs for a new husband to try to become a music producer. I watched my brother exhaust himself for years to try to support both of them while he sat around smoking weed in his studio, and ever since then new husband decided that I hate him, even though we have since resolved all of those issues when he got a job and started contributing. Even when we did not get along, I always made it very clear, if my brother loves you and I love you too. Both families have been very supportive. There is no homophobia or anything like that on either side. Is my brother in an abusive relationship? I don't know, I guess that's what each individual person would deem abusive. I don't want to label my brother's partner unjustly as abusive when I'm not in a relationship myself and my brother has never expressed feeling abused. I think if you regard this behavior manipulative and abusive, then that's up to your own judgment. However, I am not going to give anyone that label. I didn't choose this was a fake wedding. They did when they decided to announce in the middle of the ceremony that they were already married. They made it a fake wedding when they declared that it was fake. LOL, hello? And Russian bots? Pushing propaganda? Okay people, I only mentioned the fact that there was a drag show at the wedding because that is a very rare thing. I learned that my brother had been married for a year and had been lying to my face by a drag queen revelations. That is just stating the facts. That has absolutely nothing to do with the drag community or how myself or anybody else should feel about them. They were paid to do a job and they showed up and did what they were paid to do. I have no ill will towards anybody in any type of community. Those of you who are saying me mentioning them comes off as judgmental are very much for stretching. For those of you who think it's weird that I did not mention that he was gay, why is that weird? And why is that relevant to the story, LOL? The people who had their panties in a twist probably have more of an issue with the community than I do. Stop making this post about anything other than what it is about. In the end, I am grieving the loss of my brother. I am grieving the relationship that I believed him and I had, and to be honest, based on my view of our closeness, I am honestly doubting my own sanity. Do you usually spend hours talking to somebody, getting matching tattoos, planning a wedding? Being at holidays and childbirth with somebody that you're not close with? At least on my end, I did not invent how close I was with my brother if it was not mutual, and he is a very good actor. And honestly, me questioning our closeness has been the most painful part about this whole experience. It's made me wonder if I'm crazy or not. Gay wedding, child-free. Two separate statements. It was not a wedding where they excluded gay kids, lol. For anyone who read it like that, you're extra weird. My brother is clearly gay and got married to a man. Therefore, it is a gay wedding. Children were not permitted to attend the wedding, therefore child-free. Two separate things, people. Both are okay. And I also want to say that I would never have put fairy wings on my back and danced down the aisle if I was not 100% supportive of them. Please stop trying to make this an issue other than two siblings having a conflict. Update: I'm going to try to include as much information as I can, but it gets too long and Reddit won't let me post. So I'm going to try to address all of the questions, and I'm going to summarize a lot. The update is, there is no update. Things are the same. They are still blocked. One suggestion was that I should write him a letter, which I actually did the day after this happened, and I left it in his room. I expressed all of my feelings and explained in detail how hurt I was. We had a 2-hour drive where he said nothing even after reading my letter. I ended up losing all of my manners when I landed, and my husband told me that he sent him a message basically saying that I was overreacting. I said a lot of things that I was not very happy with. At the end of the day, I stand by my truth, and I stand by my perspective of what happened. Please stop trying to make this a phobia issue. Both families have been nothing but supportive. They represent themselves, not an entire group of people. Stop being so simple-minded. The mention of drag queens was only there because one of the queens revealed that they had gotten married a year ago. Plus, how often do you see a drag show at a wedding? If you read some imaginary undertone, that is definitely a you issue. Moving on. New husband, in my opinion, is not somebody that I would call abusive. However, abuse is subjective. I think this more comes down to him being very emotionally immature. I am not a yes man. I was for the wedding. That's an appropriate time to be a yes man. Outside of that, new husband has always been threatened by my opinion. I think he knows I can see through his BS. Weak men hate strong women. That's a fact, and that's the case here. However, we did not have any kind of beef on the wedding day, or for years before. I made it clear if my brother loves you and wants to spend his life with you, then I support that. My mom is trying her best to be as supportive as she can to both of her kids. She could never hate my brother, although she absolutely hates what he did. As far as I go, I don't know who I am without my brother. He was just as important to me as my children and my husband. It was always me and him. To say that I am mourning is an understatement. This whole situation has made me doubt a 30-year relationship. Realizing his ability to live a double life that I'm not a part of has shaken my entire world and my entire sense of reality. I'm not okay. I'm going to spend the next year being no contact. I'm going to go to therapy and get my mind, body, and soul in the best place possible, while spreading as much good karma into the world as I can. Maybe then I will be able to choose if I want to shut that door fully and permanently, or if I'm at a place where I'm willing to create a new normal with him. In the end, I am totally shattered and heartbroken. I also want to address frequently asked things. 1. Baby was #5. No worry of being overshadowed. The date that they got married was because it was a dating anniversary for them, nothing to do with me or my pregnancy. 2. I know that people get married and have a large ceremony later. That's okay. It's not what they did. It's how they did it. 3. I am not a Russian bot trying to push propaganda, lol. Those comments did make me smile though. 4. If I knew the reason why they would feel comfortable doing this to me, then I guess I wouldn't be as baffled as I am. I'm not hiding any type of detail. Honestly, it would be a lot easier if I did something so terrible to deserve this, because then I wouldn't have to wonder why. I'd know. In the end, I'm not okay. I don't know if there's anything he could do to fix this. I'll always wonder if he's telling me the truth or what he's hiding. After the way that his husband talked to me, and after him allowing him to do that, I'm honestly so repulsed by both of them. I deleted the original post because I didn't want them to be harassed. Sadly, I still have a need to try to protect him. I don't know you guys. Brother-in-law appeared and said, "Brother-in-law here. I'll just begin by saying that having a big wedding ceremony 1 year later was not my idea. But once we agreed that we were going to do it, We discussed many times about informing people beforehand to avoid things like this happening. I've never had a good relationship with Op, but we've attempted to make things work mostly for my husband, her brother, because I knew they were very close, and while I didn't like her much due to our interactions in the past, I know how valuable those close relationships are and would never want to break that apart. Op didn't want to talk about it at all. We tried to apologize and explain that the purpose was never for any humiliation or offense to anyone at all. But she wouldn't have any conversation about it, especially the night of. The next day at the Airbnb, I tried to start a dialogue with Op about how she was feeling, and she only replied with sarcasm and remarks about how there's nothing to talk about. That's the brief conversation where so there is something to talk about statement was made by me. I eventually gave up and left the room. Nothing that was said by her helped me or anyone understand really how she felt about it, and the little she did say seemed very self-centered and about how this was a scheme to humiliate her specifically, which it was definitely not. Reading through this now, though, I do comprehend a bit more why she felt that way, and for that I truly am sorry. Anyway, I'm not really sure how these work or if there's a correct way to post this, but ask me anything IG. Final update. I wish I could say that my brother had asked for my forgiveness. That things somehow returned to how they were. But they haven't. Nothing with my situation has improved. The only thing they truly changed was my view of someone I thought I knew. I know a lot of people can't relate because you're not close with a sibling. But this has been like a real death for me. And sometimes my grief is so big I don't know how to handle it. He hasn't contacted me. He hasn't clarified. He hasn't even cared if I'm being totally honest, and what a mindfuck that has been. To go from someone being as important to you as your husband and children, to them showing you over and over how little you matter, and ever did matter to them. He has insisted on that I didn't do anything wrong and you're overreacting, which is honestly just the biggest insult. If someone can't acknowledge they did something wrong, then they will never really be sorry, and the chances of behavior repeating itself are very high. A lot of you pointed out our relationship might have only been this important to me, and I think you all were right. For a long time, I cried every day. I cried during the times we would usually talk on the phone, or when a song reminded me of him. And sometimes I've cried for no reason at all other than just feeling like there is a gap in me now. But I find myself crying less and less. And sometimes when I think of him, my first thought that follows will be, wow, it's been days since he has even crossed my mind. And I guess that's progress, right? I'm not crying every day anymore. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't still shedding tears. Tears he doesn't deserve, but they come anyways. Because that's the thing about unconditional love. It still exists even when the other person broke your heart. It doesn't go away. But sometimes the other person can just no longer have access to the unconditional anymore. We have spoken, briefly, over the phone during the holidays to deal with a family crisis involving another family member. It was pretty much all business. Everyone around us kept saying, "I'm so glad you guys are talking again," but we weren't talking again. We were just dealing with business. And I guess that's all the talking we will ever do again. At one point, my husband joined in our phone conversation and told him how much he misses him too, and he cried. I guess I forgot I wasn't the only one losing someone, but either way, that doesn't change anything. My kids have not even realized. He did try to send Christmas gifts to them through my mom, but only because I complained about him not recognizing my son on his birthday. So is that all he'll ever be? Impersonal generic gifts that my kids receive once a year? I told my mom to return them and that they don't need a gift, uncle. Honestly, they have enough of those on my husband's side. With that, I also came to the conclusion if you don't have a good, respectful relationship with me, you absolutely do not get access to my children. And to be totally honest, he never really showed that much interest in my kids anyway. I know he cares and loves them, but as far as a personal one-on-one relationship with them, let's just say the extent of how much he got to know them was always me informing him about them. So there really wasn't a deep pre-existing relationship with any of my kids and him. And with him not being on good terms with me, or my husband, I'm not going to let him access to my children. And I would honestly feel the same way and react to anyone this way. If someone shows you over and over again that they do not love and respect you, why would you let them access to your kids? Especially if all they are is a gift once a year. I'm not healed, but I'm on my path. It's not better, but it's improving. I feel I am enduring the consequences of someone else's actions. I was falling apart, but I'm finding my new normal. I'll update again at the 1 year